Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Cannibal Corpse, entitled Chaos Horrific. This is the 16th full-length studio album from these American death metal poster boys, one of the most iconic, influential, successful, and popular death metal bands of all time. Also, possibly, semi-inarguably, the most consistent band in any genre whatsoever. When we here on the Metal Meltdown talk about bands that make the same album over and over and over again, but nobody cares because, quite frankly, it's still a good fucking album, we very often use Cannibal Corpse as an example because, quite frankly, they're one of the best ones out there. Because over the course of the past 35 years, Cannibal Corpse have, every 2 or 3 years or so, made basically the same album as they did before. Sometimes more nuanced, more complex, more technical, sometimes with a more polished sound, sometimes with a more primitive and raw and muscular and dirty sound, but nonetheless, the same type of album. And it never matters because it's always awesome. Because the quality and caliber of songwriting and musicianship and production and brutality, it's always top-notch. So much so that if you put a bunch of Cannibal Corpse fans in the same room, you ask them all what their favorite Cannibal Corpse album is, they're probably gonna give you all completely different fucking answers. Even here in this household, if you ask Anna what her favorite Cannibal Corpse albums are, she's probably going to say either Butchered at Birth or Kill, whereas I would say either The Bleeding or A Skeletal Domain. Like, at this point, I would equate the experience of listening to a brand new Cannibal Corpse album to that of going to, like, the same awesome greasy burger joint and getting the same awesome greasy hamburger every single time, and it still tastes fucking amazing. Maybe one time you got it cooked medium well instead of medium. Maybe one time you said, fuck it, throw some extra pickles on there. Maybe one time you said, you know what, use the white cheddar instead of the yellow American cheddar. You know what, give me a side salad instead of fries. Doesn't matter. It's still a fantastic fucking burger. And it's still more or less the same burger, even if it's not identical every time. And it's still awesome because of that. And unsurprisingly, Chaos Horrific is no exception to the rule whatsoever. Another greasy cheeseburger, this time with, I don't know, caramelized onions and arugula and fucking, I don't know, maybe they use like some fucking fancy tomato jam instead of your standard ketchup. I don't fucking know, but it's still a greasy fucking hamburger, and that's the part that fucking matters. Kicking things off, you have the extremely appropriately titled Overworlds of Violence. I love that super slimy, filthy, gnarly bass work in the very beginning. It just straight up gut punches you. I feel like I have fucking indigestion and IBS just from fucking having heard this goddamn thing. After that, there's some classic, pounding, muscular, death metal grooves and barrages galore. It's fast, it's mean, it's uncompromising, it charges through head first and headstrong like a fucking stallion riding off into the sunset. You've got Corpse Grinder roaring and bellowing out in signature Corpse Grindian fashion. You have some wild guitar pyrotechnics courtesy of Eric Rutan, who is sounding more and more comfortable with this band as time goes on. Love those blistering, short-tempered beatdowns at the very end, too. Brings this whole thing to a sudden but cathartic close, and in turn making for a great way to introduce us to this album and its world. Then there's Frenzied Feeding, which does a great job at contrasting very high intensity, like brutal death metal, blasts and barrages with some slower crescending guitar arrangements and progressions and some more churning, groove-laden riffs and movements. The way that the guitars kind of stew and meditate in these slower, groovier moments is really cool too. It unintentionally adds a little bit of dissonance and atmosphere to this whole thing and just makes it seem all the more like evil and malicious. Bloodblind is another great cut with a few tricks up its sleeve as well. It's one of the slowest and most agonizing cuts on the record with a slew of drawling, gruesome grooves. The guitars just continuously churn and grind away atop a steady foundation of like double bass, classic extreme metal percussion. In a way, it almost feels like Cannibal Corpse's take on sludge metal, with influence, I would say, also from some of the slower and more agonizing material from like classic Immolation and Morbid Angel. There are some more stubborn and explosive, atypical death metal moments here that I would say also bring to mind some Bolt Thrower, for me at least. Vengeful Invasion as well has some twisted, winding guitar dynamics and pyrotechnics that, in a way, kind of feels like Revocation when they were leaning closer towards like full-on death metal. Love the pounding chugs and those descending grooves as well. It almost kind of sounds like a chainsaw dying. The title track, Chaos Horrific, probably wins the award for being the most bloodthirsty, carnivorous, and violent and abrasive cut on the record. I mean, it is just full throttle, cutthroat, gnarly, old-school death metal. It's brutal, it's fast. Love the wailing twin guitars in the middle of this as well. It makes it sound like somebody crying out for help in the midst of like a storm. It's fucking awesome. Pestilential Rictus is great as well. I like some of the more complex and technical riffery here. And Drain You Empty is a fantastic album closer. The way specifically that this cut opens with Corpse Grinder roaring like some kind of demon overlord commanding his little minions to do all kinds of mischief, on top of these very ominous, almost droning guitars, and this almost kind of like doom metal, like rhythmic underbelly. Like, it's really fantastic stuff. I mean, the rest of the track is pretty standard modern Cannibal Corpse fare, but honestly, like, first off, who fucking cares? Cannibal Corpse rules. And second, that little intro does a great job at setting things up that, honestly, whatever else could possibly follow would still end up feeling pretty fucking cool. The way everything sounds here is just fantastic. Like, production-wise, this is up there with, like, Death Album 4 from Death Clock as being, like, one of the best sounding death metal albums of the year. It's absolutely massive. The guitars are crunchy and punchy. Everything is crystal clear and transparent, but, like, you know, not too polished, not too bubbly. Like, this record has a lot of fucking body. There's a lot of room for everyone to kind of do their thing, to kind of flex, but, like, nobody is showing off either. It almost feels like a waste of time to tell you that everyone on this thing sounds amazing, but fuck it, we're here, I'll say it. Everyone on this thing sounds amazing. And I'm amazed by the flow and the speed of this record. It just flew right on by. I was having so much fun. By the time it was done, it kind of started playing again because I have the promo copy, and that's just kind of what it does. And I didn't even really notice. I was just like, oh man, there's more. This is fucking awesome. And then I realized, oh wait, this is the Overlords of Violence song. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm feeling a 4 to 5. This is fucking great. Of course it's great. It's fucking Cannibal Corpse. I literally could have opened this video with, it's Cannibal Corpse, it's great, that's all you need to know, and I'm pretty sure you'd have been fine with that, honestly. When people ask me, hey Robert, how come you're fine with Cannibal Corpse making basically the same album over and over and over again, but not Overkill or Anvil, my answer is always extremely simple and always the same. Because Cannibal Corpse still fucking rocks, whereas those bands, in my opinion, respectfully, do not. Like, there's nothing that Overkill or Anvil have done in the past 15 years that I would put on par with anything from their classic era. Whereas with Cannibal Corpse, I would easily hold this up on the same level as something like, say, The Bleeding, or Tomb of the Mutilated, or Butchered at Birth, or even other records that I've thoroughly enjoyed from the past decade, like A Skeletal Domain, Red Before Black. These guys, they shoot like fucking Hawkeye, like fucking Olympic archers. They never fucking miss, and at this point, I don't think they're ever gonna. So yeah, fuck it. Call me a hypocrite because I dared to criticize an aging thrash metal band for sounding like an aging thrash metal band. Oh, how come you like this? How come you like Cannibal Corpse but not this? I don't give a shit. I'm gonna be chowing down on my greasy fucking cheeseburger. I don't care. Fuck you. 4 to 5. This thing's fucking great. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Look, it's reviewing every Cannibal Corpse album. Look, it's an interview I did a couple years back with Alex Webster. That's cool. That's neat. Also, check us out on Discord. Buy some merch on Redbubble. Social media at the Metal Meltdown, blah, 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 blah. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, and others out there, my non-binary pals and friends, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.